Let's get started, everybody. Thank you all for attending the Board of Education meeting tonight. I think I seen Councilman Douglas in here. Are there any other elected officials in here tonight? I'd like to recognize everybody for being here to the Board of Education. Especially, I want to thank all of the folks that are here. I know it's a beautiful evening, and you're spending your time here at the board meeting. So with that, I do appreciate that. And I think all of the board members, I think I can speak for them all to say thank you all for being here, and we need to hear from you. So thank you very much. So with that, let's get started. So first of all, I'd like everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next, I'd like to stand for a moment of silence we've had a rough school year this year. There's been a lot of staff members, a lot of school teachers, a lot of people that work for the district that have passed away. So I'd like to just have a moment of silence in remembrance of them. So if you would bear with me, thank you. Thank you. Roll call, Monica, please. Here. Here.
Here.
Here.
Here.
I need a motion to approve the minutes for April the 19th, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the minutes for April the 24th, 2018.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Can I have roll call, Monica, please? Aye.
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 So before asking to approve the agenda, I need to reorder the agenda tonight. There are 23 separate non-renewal recommended by the superintendent, and it is possible that some may be pulled from the consent agenda. Any non-renewals that are pulled need to be considered tonight, so I am adding a priority item of business 1.1.1 through 1.1.23 under Section 3, Business 1.0, Other. Are there any objections? Okay, so there's no objections to that, so we're going to move them. So I need to amend the agenda in the order also because we have a long board meeting tonight and we have a few people that need to be leaving. I'd like to move the superintendent's report prior to audience comments because we have some presentations that need to happen. So can I get a motion to do that?
So moved. To rearrange the agenda.
To rearrange it, yes. I rearranged it for the other stuff, but okay.
Second.
Any discussion? Okay.
Where are you going to put this?
Before audience comments. It'll be superintendent's report right after recognitions.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. So can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Okay, so now I'm going to ask for a motion to approve the agenda as modified and amended.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Thank you. So do we have any recognitions tonight?
Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Board President. We have one. At this time, I'd like to have the principal of Kearney Middle School, Principal Jeffers, please come up here, and I believe you would like to recognize one of your individuals.
Good evening, President Archuleta, distinguished members of the board, Superintendent Dr. Abrego. It is with honor tonight that I recognize Mr. Rod Cruz, who has been teaching with the district for 22 years at Kearney Middle School. He has been the wrestling coach from 1998 to this year, when he brought home the trophy for several years, the league championship in 98, 99, 2000, 2001, 4, 5, 10, 11, 13, 14, 16, and 17. The years that are missing, he was runner-up. He is also, by the way, he teaches science, and he has also been the track and field coach for the last 15 years, 2002 to 2017, bringing home the league championship in 2013, 14, 15, 16, and 17. Runner-up in 205, 6, 7, 8, and 12. Third place in 3, 9, 10, and 11. He has been the football assistant coach for the last 20 years, working on the offensive, defensive line. Won Outstanding American Teacher, National Honor Roll 2005-06. He was in Who's Who Among America Teachers in 2005-06, and Walmart Teacher of the Year in 2006-2007. Now, if you look to the right, this is Technical Sergeant Erica Johnson, formerly Erica Pearson, when she attended Adams 14 schools and graduated from Adams City High School. Here's a letter that came across my desk that was written to Mr. Cruz that he did not know I got a copy of. Mr. Cruz, sir, many, many years ago, I was a troubled young kid who had a tough home life. Had anyone told me I'd be where I am today, I would have never believed it. I should be dead by now. I should have ended up like my friends and my brothers. I had been in fights, suspended, you know the rest. Instead, I'm finishing my master's degree and celebrating my 8th year in the Air Force this July. I have been all over the world, and I have seen firsthand how my efforts made a difference in Florida, Puerto Rico, Germany, Japan, and so many other places. Mr. Cruz, all of that would not have been possible without you. You were the only light in that very dark world. I cannot thank you enough for your mentorship, compassion, and for being the most decent adult I had ever come across at that time. You showed me that I could do better than what my environment was otherwise leading me to be. I cannot thank you. Thank you does not do enough justice. You literally fed me when I did not get to have a meal every day. I hope you're doing well, and if there's anything I could ever do, sir, please do not hesitate to reach out. Respectfully, Technical Sergeant Erica Johnson, formerly Erica Pearson.
You never know how these students are going to turn out, and you just give them the best that you got every day, you know, whether they get under your skin or not. You know, you just have to have faith that they're going to turn out good and do your job.
With the students we have in Adams 14 and teachers such as this, I love coming to work every day, and thank you for allowing me to do that.
So can we get a Cruz picture with you? Also, I'd like to say he does help the students cross the street in the morning so they get to school safe every day. I see him every morning.
I'm a human pylon.
He's got his chair in the wrong spot.
They're terrible chairs. They don't go through.
Right here, Rod, right here.
Smile, everybody.
And 2 more pictures. Thank you very much.
That was so neat.
Do we have any more recognitions?
No, that's all.
Okay, so prior to the recognitions, I see that we have a few students that would like to sit in on the board meeting. Would there be any parents or any adult people that would like to move so the students could sit in the boardroom? We have another room that you can see and hear everything that's going on. I think there's about 10 of them in here. Thank you, everybody, for being accommodating.
He's gonna make another translation announcement.
Pardon me?
Another translation announcement.
Buenas tardes. Otra vez, las personas que necesiten aparatos para interpretación, en la parte inferior izquierda se encuentran los aparatos para que los vayan a recoger. Interpretación de español a inglés y viceversa.
Thank you. So that moves us to the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Board President. Our first report is going to be the Recess Advisory Committee presentation, and if I could have Mr. Jesse Martinez and his group come up here, please.
Good evening, Dr. Abrego and distinguished members of the board. I had the opportunity, wonderful opportunity, to work with the Superintendent's Recess Advisory Committee to come up with recommendations to the superintendent on recess and physical activity. At this time, I would like to introduce Brianne Ellen, who's a PE teacher at Kemp Elementary, and Connie Bonnell, who's a grandparent here in Adams 14, who would like to give a presentation on kind of their recommendations on recess for the district.
Good evening, and thank you for having us. So the Recess Advisory Committee was comprised of 7 people this year. We had 3 staff members, myself, Diane, who is a teacher at Monaco, Karen, who works at the admin office. We had 3 parents, Jill, Maria, and 1 great-grandparent, Connie. We met 4 times for about an hour and a half. Sometimes we went a little over, hashing out our ideas on recess and what we felt might be best for students. Let me tell you, recess is a very emotional topic. So it was a tough 4 meetings to come up with these recommendations for you. I'm going to pass the mic over to Miss Connie real quick here.
Good evening, Dr. Abrego and the distinguished board. I am the grandparent or the great-grandparent. I have 3 great-grandchildren in this district, and they are the 4th generation in this district. Our purpose, we explored various aspects of recess and physical activity in order to provide thoughtful recommendations that were mindful of the ripple effect of those who might be affected by such recommendations. One of the first recommendations, or the first recommendation, is at least 20 minutes of recess, non-academic physical activity during the school hours. Recess is to be inclusive of all students. That includes students that are disabled or any other kind of thing that would keep them from participating. We also are talking, well, I'm not going to talk about that, Brianne is. One of the questions that was asked several times during our discussions was, where is the time going to come from? Well, the time has always been there. Recesses have always been a part of school, and I feel that there are some other things that could be addressed at a later date, that time would be there. So we felt that activity, physical outside activity, was the most important thing for children. It gives them the opportunity to expel that energy and also come back into the classroom prepared to sit and listen and learn. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our third recommendation is that the district explores outside partnerships that facilitate recess and train staff on developing policies and best practices around unstructured time. We think it's important to look for resources outside of our district for people who might already be experts in this area, or companies that might already be experts in this area, to come in and help our staff and our students best use that 20 minutes of non-academic time each day. Fourth, I would like to allocate or seek adequate resources for equipment for recess. So with that, I'd like to look for adequate resources to maintain and update playground equipment, and we want to make sure our students have enough equipment to use at recess. We want to make sure that our students have enough options of things to do at recess. We talked different ideas about finding, different bags of jump ropes and soccer balls and footballs and things like that for students to be able to use during their recess time so that they can best use that time with their classmates. Next, we ask that the District Wellness Committee continues to evaluate the social emotional learning policies, including policies around unstructured time, because we felt that recess could be used in addition to benefit students just to have that time to themselves and to interact with their classmates. We could really use recess to support the social emotional learning. And so we'd like the Wellness Committee to look into that. And last, we'd like the District Wellness Committee to monitor these recommendations. Do you have any questions for us?
You just made a statement that they're going to monitor them and report back to see how they're working. Is it we need longer time? What are we doing? What are we doing with the monitor time?
Well, the Recess Advisory Committee, as we understand it, isn't a permanent committee. So as we understand our role We have finished with our meetings as the advisory committee, and so we were hoping that the wellness committee could take on the role of monitoring these recommendations and getting updates on these recommendations.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Could you tell me, did you address the issue of you had mentioned 20 minutes of recess time? Did you look into the prospects of having that as a block, one block, or split into 2 recess times?
I think we talked about different options, but as a committee, our recommendation would just be at least 20 minutes of non-academic physical activity.
So whether it's...
Unless anyone has.
Yeah.
I stand corrected. We were talking about 10 minutes, splitting up the time between a lunch recess and an afternoon recess or morning recess.
Yeah. Did you feel that there was under L, you say allocate or seek adequate resources and equipment? So is your feeling that there's currently an inadequate a number of things to play with or do and so forth, or?
That's what it seemed like from the feedback we got from committee members about what they know about what's going on at different at recess at different schools. We got the feeling that there might not be adequate equipment for all the students who are out playing at the same time.
My understanding that occasionally, or I don't know whether it's occasionally or not, I've heard occasionally from different people that sometimes outside recess is canceled because of lack of coverage. Was that a consideration of your group?
That topic did not come up in our discussions. There was no, the only time that there's not outside recess generally is because of weather. We didn't have any conversation at all about not having enough adult coverage, although we did talk about making sure that the playground is like they do in the buildings. The building has a capacity. So does the playground have a capacity? What is the capacity and how many children should be on that playground? More safety issues than anything is what we were looking at. If you have 500 kids on a playground that's only equipped for 200, you have a problem.
Thank you.
I'd also like to add that we mentioned that coverage, a good part of the time is done by the classroom teacher, which I think classroom teachers are willing to do as long as the kiddos can get out for some exercise.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have 2 more presentations, Board President. Our next presentation will be the DAC Committee.
Hello, good evening, Dr. Abrego, distinguished board members. This year, we were able to, we operated DAC differently, District Accountability Advisory Committee. One of our charges is really to look at wanting to cover kind of the policies and procedures related to or what state law says regarding the DAC. Additionally, we really wanted to work towards providing solid recommendations to the Board of Education, excuse me, so that the committee had time to really look at kind of topics that they felt that the committee decided that they would like to research and continue to provide recommendations on. So starting with the District Accountability Social and Emotional Learning Committee, this committee basically when we went through and kind of looked at these recommendations for DAC, we really looked at 2 things. One was school improvement, two big categories that kind of landed with DAC. One was school improvement, and then the other one was climate and culture. So as a part of those 2 buckets, there was a lot of series of other topics that they wanted to actually dive into to provide a solid recommendation. And the committee has decided on social-emotional learning as one of the aspects under climate and culture, and then the other would be teacher recruitment and retention for school improvement. So that is what you're going to hear tonight with the two committees, and you'll have their committee representatives. We're going to first start off with social emotional learning, and that's going to be on page 2 in your packet there. It's going to be presented by Joe Gonzalez, who's a parent here at DuPont Elementary, and we'll introduce Bernadette Lopez, a teacher at Hanson, Jenny Gonzalez, a parent at DuPont, Paul Sandos, Lester Arnold High School principal, and Mary Philippi from DuPont as well. So we'll have Joe introduce Joe. And then if other committee members from the Social Emotional Learning Committee can come up to the podium as well.
Good evening, Dr. Abrego, Mr. Archuleta, board members. You know, as we started this journey, I have to be honest, I wasn't really all keen about doing it. My wife actually signed me up. And so, if you understand the art of marriage, you understand the art of saying yes. But what I am privileged and thankful to say is what I've learned over the course of this journey. What I've learned about our community, what I've learned about our district, and also what I've developed for my district and my community. And it's a deep sense of passion for these young people and what they're aspiring to be. So to hear stories that we hear in the beginning of people writing years later, and students that want to be a part of their community starting in board meeting now, I have to say I really appreciate that. What we want to propose is a policy surrounding social emotional learning. And what our policy statement says is Adams 14 follows the Colorado model of multi-tiered system of supports, or MTSS. Colorado MTSS is a prevention-based framework to team-driven database problem solving for improving the outcomes of every student through family, school, community partnering, and layering curriculum of evidence-based practices that all levels of school district, from the classroom to the central administration. Every Adams 14 school will have the following student support structures in place. And one of the first one we listed was research-based social and emotional learning curriculum aligned with the 5 CASEL learning competencies and positive behavior intervention support system. Second, regularly scheduled building problem-solving meetings to address student academic and behavioral supports. Third, psychological and social support services provide students with the prevention and intervention support necessary to maintain mental, behavioral, and social emotional health. Fourth, employee wellness supports provide educators with opportunities to acquire information and practice behaviors that lead to physical, social, emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. Healthy educators provide a powerful role model for students. Fifth, providing health education opportunities to Adams 14 families, helping reinforce student health in multiple settings, including the home, school, out-of-school programs, and in the community. Some of the core values that we want to include in this policy include a team-driven shared leadership. Teaming structures and expectations distribute responsibility and shared decision-making across school, district, and community members to organize coordinated systems of training, coaching, resources, implementation, and evaluation for adult activities. Database problem-solving and decision-making. A consistent process is used by stakeholder teams and applied to multiple levels to analyze and evaluate relevant information to plan and implement strategies and that support sustainable, improved students and system outcomes. Family and school community partnering. A collaboration of families, schools, and communities as active partners in improving learner, classroom, school, district, and state outcomes. Layered curriculum of supports, ensuring that every student receives equitable academic and behavioral support that is culturally responsive, matched to need, and developmentally appropriate through layers and increase intensity from universal every student, employee, and family, to targeted to some students, employees, families, to intensive to few students, employees, and families. Evidence-based practices, approaches to instruction, intervention, and assessment that have been proven effective through research indicating improved outcomes for students. Our charge would be to, and as daunting as it sounds, it will be the responsibility of the superintendent to ensure that each outcome is being addressed throughout Items 14, and that I would also add the caveat that he be able to implement that as he sees fit and to delegate as he sees fit. The reason for our policy, by adding board policy around Colorado model of multi-tiered system of supports will ensure sustainability of the use of this framework regardless of the changes in administration. This provides for consistency towards strategic improvement. In addition, this could support future grant funding opportunities as it shows the district commitment to follow Colorado MTSS. This policy will ensure that schools will have an MTSS in place to support students academically and behaviorally through prevention and early intervention efforts. This policy assures that principals are held accountable for prioritizing and facilitating the development of these systems so that they are viable. Principals will be measured on the efficiency and the effectiveness of these systems through their yearly performance review. In short, we just want to make sure that our students have what they need. We want to make sure the students have people they can trust inside of their building. We want to know that students have people that they can turn to for help, and that people are paying attention and getting to know them, to know where they need the help, when they need the help, before we're in crisis mode. And so with this policy, as daunting again as it sounds, we want to make sure that there are layers of accountability. We want to ensure that there are layers that will be for the student first, speaking for the student first, and also for the teacher, not a short second behind the student. Because in order for us to lead, we have to remain healthy. And so we hope that you review this policy. We hope that it's highly considered because it was not easy. It was not easy for a principal to say, yes, add this to my yearly review. And that's what we had, was a committee member that willingly said yes as a principal. We had staff members and parents that were also willing to get behind everything that we had written down.
Thank you for all your hard work.
Thank you.
Looks like a lot of hard work, too. Thank you.
I'd just like to say thanks for all your hard work, because the DAC committee was, I believe, meeting every Wednesday, once a month. But to the ones that I came, and it's supposed to go from 5:30 to 7 o'clock. I know that we were here, not me, but just watching, they were here till 8:30, sometimes even 9, so we thought the board worked hours. The DAC committee really put in their time to make sure that they were going to get what they wanted for our students. And I really commend you, and I really thank the committee for doing the work that you did and let us know where you stand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Rolla.
I just want to say, you could tell you put a lot of work into this, because you covered every avenue, every person, everything. And I think it's put together very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Quintana.
First of all, I want to say thank you to you and your group, the DAC. The most important thing about what you presented to the Board of Education, us, is we implement it, and not just take what y'all hard work did and just sit it up here and look at it and just push it to the side. So that's the most important thing we have to do, and I believe we will implement this, and we will let your team and the DAC know that we implement it step by step, and that's the only way it can get done. Not put y'all hard work to not getting it done, and then we just sit up on it and just don't do nothing. It shouldn't do that. So I want to thank everybody, and we will be putting this into work. We'll have
our lawyer, John, to implement certain things too, to make sure we are doing it correct with the board policy. So everything is correct, and we don't want this to just go to waste like a lot of things in this district that does go to waste and go out one ear and not the other. And so, you know, I thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Thomas.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening. Dr. Abrego, distinguished board members. The other committee that worked on recommendation through the District Accountability Advisory Committee is the Teacher Recruitment and Retention Committee. I would like to invite Angela Visti and Deborah Figueroa, who are going to be presenting their recommendations to the board, along with their committee members, Regina Hurtado, parent at Adams City High School, Melinda Rios, parent at Kearney Middle School and Alsop, Naomi Sanchez, parent at Kearney Middle School, Maria Rodriguez, parent at Adams City High School in Monaco, Laura Alvarez, parent at Hanson, Antonio Alvarez, parent at Hanson, and Jolene DeGuero, parent at Adams City High School. All right. And their recommendation starts on page 5.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dr. Angela Vizzi, Deborah, and Laura Alvarez.
Maria's over here.
I'm Maria.
And Regina's at a mandatory parent meeting at the high school.
So throughout this school year, the DAC has been identifying, discussing, researching, and preparing topics to present to you. A recommendation that you might consider in a collaborative effort to improve, replace, and newly implement district policy and procedure. These recommendations are considered to be presented to you in good faith in an effort to positively and directly impact students, families, and the community. So I just wanted to discuss first some stakeholder and district data. According to information presented during a superintendent parent report in April, current state of Adams 14 regarding teacher retention and turnover, approximately 23 licensed positions are currently posted, with an anticipated 35 to 40 jobs becoming available in the near future. That's a possibility of upwards of 63 positions that you would have to fill. This presentation also identified self-disclosure responses as to why teachers were leaving the district, and in not in any particular order. They consisted of new position in another district, moving for personal reasons, management, district moving in a new direction, retirement, voluntary resignations, retirements, non-renewals, one-year-only contracts, downsize or dismissal, involuntary resignations. The district did identify ways it is currently attempting to promote retention and recruitment of teachers with teacher induction and mentor programs, access to professional development, teacher leadership program, and other supports or partnerships like ones with the Bueno Center. The district also is exploring additional ways to promote future teacher retention and recruitment, such as a teacher cadet program, a parent to para to teacher program, out-of-state job fairs, hiring certified early childhood educators as licensed employees, comparable teacher compensation packages, teacher referral systems, tuition assistance and scholarships, high quality professional development, and building a kids-focused learning environment. A survey recently sent out to all schools for the BAC to respond from the DAC for recommendations to help us build the recommendations that we have presented today. Only 9 out of 11 schools and the preschool program responded. The back recommendations that might promote, the ones that they recommended that might promote teacher retention and recruitment, were increased high-quality professional development, such as those in areas of home visits, discipline, random acts of kindness, and restorative justice. Increased compensation and stipends for extra duties or time, such as the biliteracy and ELD teachers. Utilize appreciative inquiry models. Teacher mentoring programs, parent-to-teacher programs. Retain administrators who work well with their staff and staff, students, and families. Increase collaboration between teachers and parents. Increase instructional flexibility and rigor. And finally, increase in consistency at all levels across the district. The DAC identified additional concerns regarding teacher retention and recruitment, such as the building, climate, and culture evaluations, teacher and staff evaluation process review, and career progression pathways for veteran teachers.
I do want to add that although the charge was retention and recruitment, after many conversations, we decided to focus on the retention, because part of what we know historically with our programming is lack of consistency, and then the cost that it takes to continue to recruit, and replace. So the recommendations that we're going to make are kind of focused on retaining teachers.
Thank you.
So I'm going to go into our recommendations. Recommendation 1, staff retention regarding culture and climate. The DAC recommends the Board of Education develop a 360-degree policy for buildings, climate, and culture to be evaluated through either survey or questionnaire at all levels. This would include the administrator, staff, student, and parent voices. The design of the evaluation instrument should be no more than 15 Likert-style questions with at least one open-ended prompt for participant comments. The evaluation instrument will be distributed during this next year, the 2018-2019 school year, in order to collect a baseline data. Ideally, that would be done in November and in April. The results of the evaluation will be made public, omitting any and all factors that may specifically identify any individuals in the district. The results of the evaluation will be attached as additional documentation to principal's formal evaluation, weighted between 15 and 20%. Currently, there is an annual parent engagement and satisfaction survey that is handed out to the parents in each school throughout the district. Although this could be considered a climate and culture evaluation, it is only designed for the parent voice, not the voices of the administrator, staff, or student. In an effort to maintain continuous improvement of administrators and staff at each building, the DAC recommends that the building's climate and culture be evaluated and reviewed no less than 2 times per year, again, ideally October, November, and April. This allows building administrators and staff and the sufficient response time to develop and implement continuous improvement plans in an effort to address and improve areas of concern regarding administrator-staff relationships, administrator-staff student relationships, administrator-staff parent relationships, and administrator-staff community relationships, which may directly and positively impact student achievement and progress, social-emotional wellness, and teacher retention. Instead of effective and highly qualified teachers leaving the district due to management issues, voluntary resignations, or other school districts, this will also allow the district to determine best placement for administrators and staff, further increasing teacher retention and possibly reducing the number of union and district-related grievances and complaints. Recommendation 2.
teacher support and staff evaluation process and review. And one thing I think we forgot to mention, it's in the notes, we're actually looking for policy recommendations, an adoption of policy. What we thought is we want policy in place regardless of leadership. We want structures and systems to be in place regardless who is running the show. Because part of what we found is things keep getting reinvented, and we keep losing time. So we don't want to do that. So with recommendation number 2, we're looking at making sure that the teacher and the support staff and everybody involved in the evaluation process, that the process be reviewed several times a year, ideally every quarter. And we're talking the process like happened last month. We don't want that to happen again. Teacher retention is greatly affected by the evaluation process. Inaccurate evaluations might be lack of understanding of the evaluation process. I don't want to read every bullet point to you, but the gist of recommendation number 2 is that we want 4 times a year in policy that the process for evaluations is reviewed and everybody understands it. Recommendation number 3.
Thank you. Recommendation 3, teacher retention, PD, and career development. The DAC recommends the Board of Education develop a veteran teacher career progression pathway. Currently, there is only a BOE policy related to support staff career development. However, the district does state that there is an induction or mentor program, but it is only for teachers with initial licenses. There are minimal, if any, current or future projections of implementing a veteran teacher career progression pathway. Both new and veteran teachers benefit from various professional development opportunities throughout the school year. In addition, veteran teachers may benefit from a program that is designed to create a teacher to administrator pathway that specifically addresses how teachers who remain in the district can and will advance at some point in their careers if they so desire. This particular pathway may allow participant teachers the opportunity to become involved and participate in principal, administrator, and district level discussions, building management, evaluations, and parent discussions. This particular pathway may offer scholarships to teachers for professional development, content, exams, tuition assistance, and etc. To hold a master license in Colorado, teachers, principals, and administrators are required to maintain a portfolio for review of documentation of ongoing professional development and training. And in your packet, I have the requirements for the initial professional and master licensure, in which the portfolio documentation is highlighted. The boxes underneath those is what is required for licensure for principal and administrator licensure in the, according to the Colorado Department of Education. I can continue. Okay. So we're almost done. Hang in there. Only 2 more recommendations. Number 4, teacher retention, and that's teacher voice. The DAC recommends that the BOE afford teachers the opportunity, outside of grievance and complaint protocols, to freely voice concerns, comments, and questions without fear of retaliation, discipline, or non-renewal. A current epidemic is occurring in Adams 14 where teachers and staff are fearful to openly express views, opinions, questions, and concerns for fear of retaliation, discipline, or non-renewal. This epidemic may also negatively impact teacher retention and recruitment. It's important for all stakeholders' voices to be heard. Recommendation 5, teacher recruitment. The DAC recommends that the BOE submit a quality teacher recruitment program application to CDE when the next cycle is available. According to CRS 22-94-102, contract to create quality teacher recruitment program, the state of Colorado created, and the CDE created, the Quality Teacher Recruitment Program. The program authorizes CDE to award grants to organizations collaborating with school districts or school boards of cooperative educational services to recruit, select, train, and retain highly effective teachers in areas that have historic difficulty in attracting and keeping quality teachers. The program also includes funding for CDE to contract with a third-party evaluator to track and review the program's outcomes. Since the 2014 and 15 school year, CDE was awarded grant funds to the Public Education and Business Coalition and Teach for America to place teachers in historically hard-to-serve school districts in Colorado. None to date of these teachers have been placed in Adams 14. In some cases, teachers determine application to a district based on experiences of current and former teachers. Regardless of non-disclosure agreements, people talk to each other about their experiences. Based on the current state of Adams 14, what can you conclude your current and former teachers are saying about 14? I've also included some literature that might be beneficial to read. One of which mentions that retaining quality teachers in similar school districts and schools with similar characteristics as Adams 14 would include having teachers who have come from districts such as those, urban low-income districts, would include those teachers who have student taught and have experience serving those characteristics of school. They specifically mentioned Teach for America as being one of those that provides quality teachers that are easily retained in those urban low-income school districts or hard-to-serve school districts. And that is one that in recommendation 4 that received the Quality Teacher Recruitment Program funding, Teach for America. Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you. Thank you very much for your hard work once again.
Thank you.
We do have one more presentation. We have Mr. Martinez. Were we done with yours? Okay, go ahead.
On page 13 in your packet, you'll see the Building Accountability Advisory Committee recommendations in your packet there on page 13. This is an overview of kind of what schools are saying. So I briefly have highlighted some of the things if you would like me to kind of address those. I know. Would you guys like that, or?
What do you guys want to hear?
I'm good.
And I could be quick, so I won't take too much time. So with preschool, they're wanting parent engagement, more opportunities, really looking at pre-kindergarten to kindergarten connection, so having teachers being able to talk to each other to really look at that transitional time. As you can see, you could follow along there, but I'm just highlighting some of those components. Provide more biliteracy programs at pre-kindergarten, more full-day preschool, or pre-kindergarten or preschool, that's what I was going to say. So elementary, we're looking at parent communication, increased activities for students, increased rigor for our students, more parent volunteer programming like STOMP or a parent to something program for our parents to volunteer and get trained in our schools, emphasis on student safety in our schools, invest in teacher retention, really looking at high-quality professional development and high-quality teachers in our schools. Recess, so they also said with elementary, reinstate recess. Continue parent forums and address parent involvement in our schools. Address a tardiness or truancy policy. Homework sent home to encourage that. Social emotional learning in our schools. Retaining teachers. High expectations for students in our schools in elementary. Teacher professional development on behavior and discipline. Restorative justice in our schools. Parent volunteer program once again. Parent-teacher conferences. For our middle schools, really looking at restorative justice, behavior and discipline, safety, anti-bullying, more extended learning opportunities, so more of that after-school programming. Positive outlook on the district. They want more kind of positive news out there in the district of our within our schools. Recognizing staff and people committed to the district. So really recognizing those that are committed to the district. As far as high school, continue to analyze data, build capacity. One of the comments with Lester Arnold is really looking at building capacity at Lester Arnold High School. Because it's growing and there's a growing interest there in Lester Arnold. So those are kind of an overview of kind of the recommendations based on the building school accountabilities committees.
Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you.
Just like to say thank you, Mr. Martinez and Ms. Burke, for putting all the time with these committees and letting us know. Thank you.
We do have one more, and we would like to have Ms. Kim Sini will present on the Positive Behavior Support Conference.
Good evening, President Archuleta, distinguished board members, and Superintendent Abrego. I had the opportunity to attend the 15th Annual International PBIS Conference in San Diego. And one of my primary interests in attending this conference is that we were invited by Colorado Department of Education to attend a year-long PBIS training this year. We had 3 schools volunteer to do this training, Hanson Elementary, Kearney Middle School, and Adams City High School. So I went out and participated in this 3-day conference to enhance my knowledge about positive behavior supports. So the focus is really on intervention and prevention, and we looked at school-wide curriculum that emphasizes targeted social-emotional learning at the universal Tier 1 level for all students in teaching social-emotional learning competencies, and we heard a lot about that through our DAC committee. And the policy around that, where social cultures and teaching competencies are emphasized, and looking at instructional practices that support kids in prevention and early intervention. We're really looking at things that model a positive social behavior, getting out in front of climate and culture before we're looking at remediation, and we're looking at things before bullying starts and getting ahead of that. So we were talking a lot about bullying and how to look at this from an early intervention prevention standpoint. Really talked a lot about social media and the influence of social media. So I was able to come to the DAC meeting a couple weeks ago, month ago now, and present to them on some of this information. So it's been really helpful, and was able to present also with the different schools in the PBIS and bring that back to them. So when we look at intervention early on, before bullying, we're looking at respect. Adams City High School right now is looking at teaching some of these positive behaviors and having the kids look at how they can model these through infomercials, if you will, where they're filming what the behavior looks like when it's done right. and the kids are making these commercials of the behavior being done right, and then again making commercials of the behavior being done wrong. So the kids are demonstrating the positive behavior and demonstrating the not so positive behavior. So we're trying to use the kids to teach the behavior themselves. Really recognizing pro-social behavior and using the kids to demonstrate through leadership. Any questions? Thank you. I want to let you know that this conference was paid through also by CDE through the MTSS grant funded, that we have a 5-year grant with CDE through multi-tiered systems of support. So an additional bonus.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's all we have.
So I know we moved those because some people said they needed to leave, so I'll give you a few minutes to leave if you care to leave before we get into audience comments. Okay. Everybody's gone? So once again, everybody under policy BEDH, we do have a time limit for speakers. We ask you to speak for 3 minutes or less. I know that I violate this policy quite a bit. I allow you to, but we do have a lot of comments tonight. So I'm going to try to adhere. So if I cut you off, it's not out of disrespect, but it's because we have a lot of people that we'd like to hear from, and I know it's going to probably end up being a long meeting. So if we could try to keep the comments positive if at all possible, and no using of names if we can, okay? And with that, let's get started. Right. You mentioned it. Okay. So is Barb McDowell here? Barb, are you in the overflow?
It's Barb and Sean Milner.
Pardon me?
It's Barb and Sean Milner.
Oh, it's Barb and Sean Milner, sorry.
Hi, Barb McDowell, President of the Classroom Teachers Association.
Sean Milner, Finance Director.
We just wanted to present to the board tonight that the Classroom Teachers Association and the district have reached a tentative agreement. We will be having informational meetings for staff on Thursday at Kearney Middle School and Adams City Middle School at 4:45, something like that. And another one for elementary and high school at Hanson Elementary at 3:45 on Friday.
We'd just like to add that once we have a ratified agreement, we will be taking this to the board for approval. We are looking at a 2-year deal moving forward, and would like to thank the CTA. It was great negotiating, and we look forward to moving forward in the future.
I want to second what Sean said. Working with the district on the negotiating team was a pleasure. We got a lot done, and it was good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I'd like to have Stephanie Gomez Ramos.
Good evening. My name is Stephanie Gomez, and I'm a senior at ACHS. I am here today because I fear for the future of Adams City High School. My senior year has been drastically impacted by the negative actions, bad decisions, and poor leadership of our administrative team. The last straw was a week ago when they took our second senior counselor away with 2 weeks left until graduation. Ms. Bree has helped all the seniors in the school. Most of us would not have gotten our work completed if she hadn't kept us on track with our credits and classes we needed. Ms. Bree has helped with credit checks, credit recovery, scheduling, and she has been there for all of us when life has gotten hard. This is difficult for all of us because right now is when we need the most support. We are about to enter the real world, and we feel like we have lost someone who truly listens and cares for our student needs. Our administration recently made all the senior class sign a waiver in order to walk at our own graduation, which states that we are not allowed to protest or walk out or ask admin not to speak at our ceremony. They do not want us to voice our opinion and what goes on at our own school. School leaders are supposed to build us up. They're supposed to teach us about integrity, and instead they have chosen to silence us, which is the complete opposite of what a school leadership team is supposed to do for their students. I don't feel that ACHS is a good environment for my younger brother to go to next year if we will continue to have the same admin with the same way that they run things. I cannot speak for anyone but myself, but I feel like that if the people of our community knew how things run at ACHS, they would feel the same for the incoming freshmen. The community is resilient and very used to what has been happening over the last 7 years. This community is supportive of students, and I think it is time we find an administrative team that can do the same. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie. Can I have Heaven Moore?
Good evening, my name's Heaven Moore. I'm a junior at Adams City High School. I'm graduating early this year, and this has been hell. This school year has been the worst of the last 3 years. To start my first year there, my father had, I pretend to be an adult because I've had to grow up early in life. My first year, I had to have my dad come up to the school twice to describe that he needed to get my schedule fixed. This has been repeated the entire 3 years I've been there. This year obviously was worse. To go off of Stephanie's comments, Miss Bree has been there to help me tremendously to get my credit checks done. She had to do this 3 times for me, if I remember correctly, because the first time my early graduation form was lost. Okay, mistakes happen, I understand. It happened again after Govea had left. Govea was the original counselor I went to for everything. When you guys took her away, maybe it wasn't you guys, but when she was taken away from us, that impacted a lot of the seniors. Also, when Bree took over, a lot of her work was taken credit for after she was put on administrative leave because she did not want her work taken credit for. Going back to my second year of high school, my dad had to come up once again to describe that my schedule was not working for me and I needed to be put in higher level classes to get my GPA up so I could go to CSU. Also, my third year, when everything that has happened this year happened, it's brought down my self-esteem in my school, and my cousin is going to transfer to this school, and I fear that he's not going to succeed and go to the School of Mines because he wants to be a mechanic. And if my cousin goes to this school and he doesn't succeed because you guys and our administration at the school cannot do their jobs, I'm going to be very disappointed in you guys, and I just hope that you guys can get it together because it's not fair. A lot of the students here suffer and don't succeed or don't have that backing to push us to do our best. And I'd like to thank Bree Manko herself and tell her thank you for everything, because without her, I would not be graduating early. She got my stuff together when nobody else would. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Is it Julia Garza?
It's Julia.
Julia, I'm sorry.
I have attended school in this district since kindergarten. It is inevitable being from this district to not have received judgment from a variety of people. Throughout my years of attending this district, not until I reached the 11th grade did I realize the judgment being passed and the perceptions made about students in my district. In the middle of the 11th grade, the student body of Adams City faced the realization that we were nearly finished with the school year and still did not have a principal for the upcoming year. As candidates went through the interview process, it seemed that everyone that interviewed did not fit the profile. In late March, we had a candidate that fit all the necessary requirements, principal experience, and experience in a turnaround school. The candidate did not only fulfill those requirements, but she had the experience at Adams City. She worked previous years as a vice principal, favored by the majority of students and staff, and recommended by the previous principal. When it came to voting, the idea of her becoming principal was dismissed with no discussion. This unreasonable and disrespectful dismissal raised concerns and actions from students, teachers, and community members. Near the end of the selection process, the school board chose a candidate that fit better for us as a student body. She had the same qualifications as the same candidate, however, they believe she would be a better fit as a leader due to her being Hispanic. Dean publicly announced that he believed we would be better benefited from someone that came from the same background. This was not the last assumption made about what we needed or what was best for us. When the new school year started, our new administration opened up with an assembly on gang violence from our new restorative justice administrator. This is when the new administrator's perception about us were obvious. They came into Adams City assuming we were troubled students. Negative perceptions made about Adams City was an average situation we faced as students. However, we hardly experienced it by the people on the inside. The culture of Adams City changed, and with that shift, I could only wonder if it had to do with the perceptions made about us in the beginning of the year. Now here we are in May again. Teachers are facing non-renewals. The only counselor that helped us put on administrative leave, and no answers. Due to this going on culture, we have asked administration to not speak at our graduation and have given them solutions to fill in those areas. We also asked Superintendent Abrego to not speak at our graduation either, because neither of the parties are contributed to our success. We also ask that you support our decisions for our graduation. Thank you.
Thank you. Angelica Gutierrez.
Good evening. My name is Angelica Gutierrez, a senior at Adams City. My last week of high school has been exceptionally good for the most part. I think it is reasonable to say that it has been a hard year and the senior class has gone through a lot. Although yesterday and today were fun, it is no reflection of how senior year has been. Countless of times, ACHS students have felt labeled and at times unheard by ACHS admin. A couple months ago, students, including myself, came in with concerns about our senior counselor being removed from our high school. The community and Board of Education were outraged to hear the news. Today, all these students are coming in to talk about another counselor who was taken away from us at the end of the year. Let me ask you a question. Board, do you still believe you hired the right administration for your high school students? Not only are they taking away our resources, but they're doing unsuccessfully without them there. The administration team at Adams City High School is a sad group of people who are doing no justice to their students, teachers, and staff, and are getting ready to watch us fail. Please let me inform you that most of the people in that building are angry and have strong feelings towards those people in charge. Last Thursday, we had a mandatory senior meeting. In this meeting, we had to sign a contract pretty much explaining our expectations they had for our graduation in order to walk. By the way, we aren't 5-year-olds and we know how to act. Anyways, at the end of the meeting, the athletic director asked for any questions, and 2 students and probably even more had questions. Quickly enough, they were shut down because the questions made them uncomfortable. Two of the questions were respectfully asking admin to not speak at graduation. They persisted in shutting down our request. So as a senior class, we asked for your help in helping us not get the admin with the exception of DeGuero to speak at graduation. Thank you.
Thank you. Very.
Good afternoon. My name is Vida Varela, and I'm a senior at Adams City High School. This year, we have faced many difficulties. Our senior year was supposed to be enjoyable, yet all administration gave us was hell. They took our senior counselor in the middle of the year, and they have decided to non-renew the best teachers our high school could have. And again, they have failed us by putting one of the few who have continued to help us on administrative leave. So please tell me, what gives admin the right to speak at our graduation when they have done nothing for us? The senior class will continue to retaliate on the things that go wrong in our school, and we will continue to do so until you hear our voice and change things to go in a better direction. So on behalf of all of the senior class, we respectfully ask Dr. Abrego and our high school administration to please not speak at our graduation. Thank you.
Amanda Burns.
Esteemed members of the board and Superintendent Abrego, my name is Amanda Burns and I teach 5th grade at Monaco Elementary. I have a few concerns that I would like to address. First, I would like to know how we can afford to give the superintendent a raise and bonus to his retirement plan when we, bulleted list, can no longer afford a full-time therapist for our elementary students who demonstrate tremendous need, lost a 5th grade teaching position at our school for 3/4 of the year, resulting in classroom sizes of about 30 or more, lost an instructional coach position this year, have leaking roofs that have still not been repaired, including the library, which has been shut down for months. Do not do the same for people who have been in this district for their entire careers. Our schools are underperforming and teachers are blamed, yet we lose positions that support our students in the development of staff every year. An additional concern I have is related to teacher non-renewals. Every year we lose several eager, hardworking teachers who are new to our building. They're often surprised to learn of their non-renewals, as are their colleagues, because they have only been observed twice and have not received constructive feedback or coaching. We, their teammates and colleagues, are never consulted. We, who work and collaborate with them daily, see their impact and effectiveness. This year, we're losing a phenomenal 1st grade teacher, rated proficient and advanced on her evaluations. I teach across the hall from her. I see and hear her teaching every day. During my planning time, I sometimes pop in to see the magic she works with what many consider a difficult class. She doesn't waste a moment. Her students are always engaged in learning, singing, reading, writing, creating, demonstrating care for one another, and asking for respect. 6- and 7-year-olds asking each other for respect. She's an encourager and an uplifter. She's a dedicated and exceptional teacher, but someone doesn't like her, and so our children lose her. We are losing an art teacher in his first 2 years of teaching. In a building where male role models are few, he is a shining model. He's a competitive runner, an artist, and a friend. He collaborates with everyone in the building. He asks for help and coaching from his colleagues because he wants to be the best teacher he can be. He has received no formal coaching to improve his practice. Someone doesn't like him, and so our children lose him. These are just 2 examples. Our non-renewal process is the antithesis to our practice. Imagine if students failed and we provided no feedback, no coaching, no improvement plan. This would be unacceptable, yet we put a stain upon teachers' careers for this reason. Non-renewal is an immediate red flag to hiring committees that we cannot be non-renewed for any or no reason. I'm sorry, we can be non-renewed for any or no reason. I recommend Bill Gates' TED Talk on the issue of teacher feedback. This year, around 10 teachers are going to be leaving Monaco with heavy hearts. I am one of those teachers. Though I love my children and their families, I must move on despite being slated for renewal. I no longer feel that the district is making decisions that put students first. From bilingual education, to teacher retention, to appropriate staffing decisions, to open communication, the areas for improvement are evident. I sincerely hope that you begin speaking to the people who support our students every day, asking their advice, supporting them, and coaching them. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane Arts. Retz. I'm sorry.
Esteemed members of the board, Superintendent Abrego, I am Diane Aritz. I hold a bachelor's degree in human resource management. I'm a master of curriculum design and highly effective first grade teacher at Monaco Elementary. Currently serving on the district recess committee as well as a member of the PBIS team at Monaco. I have been referred to by my coworker as a phenomenal teacher and an outstanding teacher by my parents. It has been an honor to collaborate with the amazing parents and students in Adams 14. I am also a mother of 6 successful adult children, 4 of who are master teachers, and a grandmother of 15 highly successful grandchildren. Throughout the 2017-2018 school year, I set forth to provide those who I serve with the tools, training, and feedback that has helped to produce astounding growth in the first grade students in my classroom. 19 of 22 students came into my care with the Dibbles rating of intense intervention. I have the evidence here. Dr. Abrego, my class. And my results. 64% of my students are performing at grade level or above. The district average is 10%. This success does not belong to me, however, or to the district. It is the tireless work done by my parents and students, though I facilitate their work by training my parents and giving them the tools to do intervention at home. I provide weekly feedback and have an open door policy. At any time, I will suggest ways for their students' improvement, and they are anxious to support. If you never see me again, if I am non-renewed, I would like you to know that this community is a community that I have come to love and respect. I have worked in Jeffco and Denver school districts, and I can state without reserve that Adams 14 students can compare in intelligence, grit, and ability of any high-achieving school. Thank you for listening to the pleas for justice for myself, my fellow teachers, and for the students of Adams 14.
Thank you. Can I have Avi Stone?
Thank you. Thanks for the opportunity to speak tonight. Introduce myself, I'm Ave, and I am the spouse of one of the teachers who has been recommended for non-renewal. We're going to hear a lot of talk about data because that's important, but I'm here to remind you that, as all educators know, data is not all there is to education. Also, heart is very important. Sorry, I'm a little nervous. I'm a former educator. I was a science teacher in Mapleton. And that's where I met my spouse while he was an English language learner teacher, helping the bilingual students or developing bilingual students in my classroom be able to access my content. And I fell in love with that teacher when I saw the magic and enthusiasm that he infected my students with. So I would like to give you a little insight on the character and heart of this teacher, and also I'm betting this would apply to many of the teachers who are up for non-renewal. But here's what I can tell you. This is the kind of teacher who chooses to teach the most disadvantaged and hard-to-serve students. These teachers are, many of them, here by choice because this is where they are needed. My husband comes home every day so full of the frustrations and triumphs of his students. This is not something that he leaves at work when he comes home. He lays in bed at night still thinking about what's he going to do with his instruction tomorrow? How is he going to reach these students? How is he going to help them succeed every day? It never ends. He's the kind of teacher who engages, connects with, and mentors students. And as we heard from the really beautiful story of Mr. Cruz, that's key. We get messages still from students that are older now who reach out to my husband to tell him, thank you for helping me. Thank you for believing in me. I wouldn't have gone to college if it wasn't for you. These are lives touched and lives changed, and I really think that matters. So, in short, I brought my family here today so that you can see the faces of the people who are supported by, by these jobs, but to also let you know that for many of these teachers, this is not just a job. This is a passion. My husband was born to teach. I have seen the piece of paper that he wrote in first grade saying, when I grow up, I want to be a teacher, just like my dad. It's in his blood. And I can't pretend to understand the personal motivations of the person who is recommending him for non-renewal, but I can say with certainty that it cannot be based on the effectiveness of his teaching, and it certainly can't be in the best interest of the students and community of Monaco Elementary. So I really hope you'll remember our heart and do the right thing. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have Daniel Stone?
Good evening, Board. I appreciate your time. Before I start, first I must thank my wife. Thank you, wife. She detests speaking in public, so you can imagine what it takes. And I'd also like to speak to the high school students that are here. I barely know you, but I'm very proud of you. It's incredible to get up here and do what you did and speak in front of these people at this podium. Now on to why I came to speak. First, I'd like to talk about the issue of non-renewal. I shared my file with you yesterday, which I only got to see yesterday morning. There are things I'd never seen before in there. I believe that's illegal. If you're basing your decision on that file, there are 267 pages in there. When I looked at them, there's erroneous information, superfluous information. There are things in there that were for other teachers. I feel it was padded for some odd reason. I'm not sure why someone would pad a teacher's file. But I'll tell you this, I equate that to as if you were pulled over by a police officer and arrested, thrown in jail without due process, without having your rights upheld. Now, if data is proof, which it is, I shared with you my data yesterday. Ms. Aretz has shared her data. Our students are learning. They're improving. On average, my math scores for my students have improved 1 grade level in 1 year. That's what we want. Their writing has improved. Some of them couldn't even write their names when they came into 3rd grade this year in 2017, and they leave able to fill a page with their thoughts, their ideas. And I think that is learning. The last thing I'll say is, if it's your goal for students at Monaco Elementary School to learn and to do well and become better people, then you must rehire Diane Aretz, you must rehire Kyle O'Brien, and you should think about rehiring me. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Deanna Gumina.
Good evening, Adams 14 School Board. My name is Dina Gumina, and I'm part of the Literacy Squared project from C Boulder, and I've been working with the biliteracy teachers, many from Monaco, for 3 years. I come here in honor of Teacher Appreciation Week. I'm concerned about the level of support the biliteracy teachers will be getting next year. In the last 3 years, Literacy Squared has provided professional development and on-site support to teachers totaling over 400 hours. As we look at the level of leadership currently at the ELD department, we fear that biliteracy and the ELD programming for bilingual learners is in jeopardy, especially considering the interim coordinator does not have a CLD endorsement or the bilingual credentials necessary for this position. You may also recall that the highly qualified bilingual ELD director with a PhD in CLD education was put on leave in November, and the highly qualified bilingual ELD coordinator resigned due to the hostile work environment. My question to the board and the superintendent is, how will the district ensure teachers serving bilingual learners in both biliteracy and English-only classrooms will be supported? How will the district ensure teachers have the support and tools necessary to serve these children that have the right to an equitable education?
Thank you. Cynthia Trinidad Sheehan.
All right, good evening, President Archuleta, members of the board, and Superintendent Abrego. I want to share a family story with you because of my passion for bilingual education and biliteracy. My father, who was born and raised here in the United States and is about the same age as many of you sitting up there. My father was an emergent bilingual who had Spanish as his first language. He attended school in Loveland, Colorado at Washington Elementary. It was 1953, and my dad was in 3rd grade, during a time where there were whites-only signs in restaurants and businesses in Loveland. School did not allow Spanish to be spoken, and my dad's 3rd grade teacher slapped him for speaking Spanish. My dad went home very upset, told my grandma Trinidad what had happened. My grandmother could barely speak English and went to the school with her concerns as to what happened to my dad. The school administrators did nothing. They did not help my grandma. They did not care that she was upset and that my dad was treated badly. See, she was just a Mexican. And they did not expect her or my dad, who was a Mexican boy, to do anything with his life. So they thought. He did much more. During this time, my parents had no voice, no choice. School was done to them, not with them. And it was not important to help Mexican children succeed. The disvaluing of a culture and language and forcing students and families to hide who they were and who they are and what they speak, as if to be ashamed, as if to say that Spanish had no place in your future, and that Spanish would have no place for success, and that you could not be successful if you spoke Spanish. That is the message that sent. The value that I have for my culture, my language, my family, drives me to call for educators to take action. No child should ever deny or be ashamed of their language and culture. No parents should ever be dismissed by administration and not be included in policy changes, program additions, or changes. Parents should be consulted with programs. Actually, and you know, it impacts their children. I became an educator and an administrator because I do not ever want a child to feel like my dad felt. I do not ever want parents to feel and be treated and dismissed as my grandmother was. My call to action is for you, fellow colleagues, educators, our students and families, is to include them in your decisions that impact them and their children. When we put on our professional clothing and hang up those degrees in our offices, it's not for bragging purposes, but because it is an opportunity for us to do better. It is not our moment to be arrogant or boastful. We work for the students and families, and without them, we are nothing. It is our duty to create an inclusive and culturally responsive atmosphere where language and culture are honored and supported, where parents and students have voice and choice, to have bilingual and biliterate education, voice and choice, because one size does not fit all. A one-size-fit-all linguistic program is the wrong way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Jan Carson, please.
Good evening, members of the board and Dr. Abrego. My name is Jan Carson, instructional coach at ACMS. Though tonight I am speaking as a former staff member of ACHS and member of our CTA executive board. One of the myths that has been thrown around about the staff members who speak out at board meetings and other places as well, there's always going to be those loud ones, right? But that's not the real story. There are just a few of them. And honestly, if I'm to speak from the perspective of one who is tasked with increasing participation in the governance of our district, I have been puzzled at times by the absence of high school staff, except that I'm not really. I'm an instructional coach, and I am telling you that those being picked off are among the finest educators I have ever known. They were targeted simply because they stood up for what is right by kids and right by their colleagues. I know this because, in some small way, I was targeted this year. I think it was in November or December when we had on the same day parent-teacher conferences and a board meeting. I wrote an email communication acknowledging that it was going to be a long day. Please come to the teacher's lounge for a taco, and thank you for caring about our kids enough to show up for both. It was on the heels of my exit from ACHS, and I inadvertently hit the tab for the ACHS staff instead of the ACMS staff. You would think, for that mistake, I had hit a child. Insinuations of conspiracy, sharp reprimands to me, communications with my boss, who came back to me to figure out what was going on, all because I invited people to tacos between meetings and thanked staff for their service to kids. Now, if that happened to me, sitting in a building 2 miles away from ACHS, I want you to imagine what might have happened to me if I was sitting inside that building. If the leadership of ACHS was effective at nothing else this year, they did an amazing job of intimidating folks into silence. Back to that myth. Back to that myth I spoke of, that only a few loud people are the problem. The results of the Teaching and Learning Conditions Colorado survey are out. And here are the numbers. 88% of the high school staff have no faith in their leadership. I'm about out of time, but we should also look at the results of Rosehill, Monaco, and Hanson Elementary. We can no longer hide behind the myth that it is just a few. 88% is not just a few. 12% that say they are satisfied is a few. The question becomes, what management is holding these principals accountable? We talk to you guys all the time about holding you accountable. Who is holding these principals accountable? Nobody. Yeah. Our house is in flames. The buildings that appear healthy are simply dry timber waiting for the loose ember to land. It is time to start holding management accountable. Thank you.
Thank you, Jan. Can I have Bree Manco?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Bree Manko, and until last Tuesday, I was the 10th grade and 12th grade counselor at Adams City High School. Last Tuesday, I was escorted out of the building and put on administrative leave. I am here tonight because I want what is best for my students and this school. The administration at Adams City High School has made it impossible for the staff to be able to do their jobs. I have spent countless hours helping to build a stronger community for our students here at Adams City High School, only to be publicly humiliated, threatened, harassed, emotionally abused, and blackmailed repeatedly by the administration that is supposed to be supporting me. On August 14th, 2017 at 5:30 in the morning, I received a phone call from the Adams City High School principal telling me that we needed to have a united front. I quickly discovered that all of the work we had done during the month before school began had been erased, and none of our students had proper schedules. We spent the next month scrambling to fix the error with no support from the administration, who instead hid in the office, refusing to speak to students or parents. One by one, we met with students for a month. Some students had to come back multiple times because of the untrained individuals that were helping to fix the problem. First semester schedule changes were not complete until mid-October. That is unheard of in education. In November, I was asked to spy on the teachers' union. Our administration wanted me to get information on which teachers were involved and outspoken. This was illegal, immoral, and I refused to comply. Because I refused, I was blacklisted and treated as such by my administration. At the end of fall semester, we had a student undergoing cancer treatment. Their mother followed all the right steps and set up a 504 plan for the student before the school year even began. This student was very ill, and school was becoming more and more difficult for them to attend. However, this student expressed on more than one occasion that all they wanted was the opportunity to attend school like a normal kid. Our administration was upset because of their attendance and very carefully suggested to this mother and student that they should unenroll because it would be better for them. It is our job to provide for each and every student, no matter the circumstance, no matter if it affects our attendance rates or not. If a student is able to attend school safely with a proper 504 plan and accommodations, then legally, we must do everything in our power to help them to be successful. Unfortunately, this is not the only student with a 504 or IEP plan who has been denied adequate and appropriate services, which, may I remind you, are guaranteed by federal law. My kids have 504s with free. At the end of December, our 12th grade counselor was transferred with no warning. Students who had built relationships were devastated. Staff who spoke to the students about this were reprimanded for getting involved. Our 12th grade counselor was vital to the success of our seniors, and they lost the support overnight, as did the entire counseling department, who were then expected to pick up all of the work. I was then called into a meeting with the principal and an AP where I was told that I was no longer to associate or communicate with any teachers, as I should be on her bus, not on theirs, if I wanted to keep my job. She also informed me that I was no longer to meet with students or families, and that my office would now be the conference room attached to her office. All of a sudden, the counseling office door was locked at all times. Students were unable to enter the counseling office at a crucial point in the year where students needed to meet with counselors to discuss end-of-the-year information. No reason was given for why students were locked out or prevented from seeing their counselors. I could go on and on about the atrocities that occur every day with staff and students, but I know my time is limited. I pray for the sake of these students, the students that will come after them, and this community that you all strongly reconsider the leadership at Adams City High School. Thank you.
That concludes audience comments.
Sir, can I actually say something?
Did you sign a sheet?
I didn't sign a sheet because I didn't know I needed to.
Okay, you can have a minute or two. But normally we do require to sign a sheet.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
I removed my kids from this district because of the administration at Adams City High School. My children now go to Fort Morgan High School. I drove over an hour to get here to come down to this meeting today to support Bree because she is the one person in that building that any of those kids could walk up to and talk to. She was the one person that all of the students knew if they had a problem they could go talk to, and she'd help them out. She would help them get it fixed. If you guys do not fix this, and especially you, because I came to you about the bullying on my son, and you sent me to somebody else. You know what? It never got fixed.
Excuse me, ma'am. We do have a board policy, and I ask you to be respectful to everybody.
I am being respectful. I haven't said anything disrespectful to him, but he is the man that sent me to someone else when my baby tried to kill himself because kids were bullying him so bad. My son could only go to school for so many hours a day in 8th grade because he couldn't handle going to school. He went to Adams City High School. It took them 2 weeks to get my boys in school with a schedule. My junior had a schedule set up already. That was gone by the administration that you guys put in there. That is not okay. You guys are affecting every single student that's in that school by not giving the proper administration. You guys had a principal there that was awesome. He listened to the kids. He respected the kids, and the kids respected him. There was no problem there. He got moved over here. You guys had an opportunity to have one of the vice principals that were there take over as a principal. You guys didn't do it. They turned around and said, no, you can't do it because the kids know you. You won't take you won't be effective. They were the ones that would have been affected, and these kids wouldn't have the problems they have now. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. As I stated earlier, there are a number of consent items tonight. For certified staff, there are recommendations for 3 resignations, 23 non-renewals, and 3 end of limited term contracts. There are also 2 classified resignations and 1 administrative resignation. We're going to address these consent items in 2 groups tonight. First, the board will vote on the certified resignations and of limited term contracts, the classified resignations and the administrative resignation second. Second, the board will vote on the certified non-renewals. So can I have a motion to group the superintendent's recommended personnel actions for certified resignations and end of limited term contracts, classified resignations, and administrative resignations?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Achuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
We haven't had discussion.
There's no discussion in consent items.
No.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye. Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Okay, so can I have a motion for consent item number?
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
Mr. Chair, point of order. If Dr. Hyde is going to object to grouping of the consent items that you just called for, then they would need to be handled under the regular, as a regular agenda item.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or if you allow a comment, I don't mind you proceeding in this manner.
Well,
your discretion, Mr. Chair.
Yes, Dr. Hyde, we had conversations last night which you chose not to participate in. We're trying to get all of this stuff look at both sides of everything. We're trying to figure out what's going to be the best thing for everybody here. So you chose not to participate. So now you want to make a comment about what we did last night. So I'll give you 30 seconds, and then we're going to move on.
I think I should take out my gag at this point. I'd like to make a point that for 5 months I've sat on the board, and board members have a right to speak. And yet the chair almost every time I want to speak, questions me about what I'm going to speak about and how long I'm going to speak. And yet the superintendent, who is not a member of the board, and he does not have a right to speak, but a privilege to speak, he has never been questioned about how long he wants to speak or on what he wants to speak about. And I would like to clarify last night. In the back of my mind, well, first of all, we've gone through a difficult time this last week in terms of these multiple non-renewal review processes. And the board's been involved in this. And in the back of my mind, what comes to mind is the expression, if not us, who? If not now, when? And our teachers are the most important asset that this district has. And if we want open communication, if we want transparency, then we ought to ask for it and demand it and get it. And I object to the way this whole process has gone down because there has been, of all the files that I looked at, I never saw one timeline. I never saw any written documentation of remediation. And I saw no evidence that teachers were informed of material that may have been added to their file. To me, that is unacceptable. That is not open communication, and that is not being transparent, and that is not what we need to do if we're trying to grow our own and retain and improve our teaching staff.
So how much longer do you have, Dr. Hyde? Because if you're going to object, then I'm going to treat this exactly like we do all the rest of them, and we'll go 1 through 23.
No, all I'm saying is I think the time for us to put our foot down. I hear board. I'll be less than 30 seconds. My colleagues on the board have asked for us to be more accountable, and the district to be more accountable, to have open communication. Now is the time to do it. And so I'm willing to vote in block, but I am not voting in favor of the non-renewals. I'll be voting against the against.
We haven't even got to that point yet.
What's that?
We haven't even got to that point yet.
No, but I'm just telling you that rather than ask to speak at 23 times, I'm telling you where my stand is right now.
Okay.
All right, Mr. Chair. So the matter that was just before the board was you split the consent items, and you asked the board to consider essentially all of the consent items that were recommended by the superintendent except for the certified staff non-renewals. You asked the board to consider those as a block. So there was a roll call on that, and Dr. Hyde registered a nay vote. He also indicated after that he would be willing to consider those as a block under the consent agenda. So it'd be appropriate to ask for clarification before you proceed into the certified non-renewals on that first group. And unless there's an objection, you could ask the board to reconsider that, or ask Dr. Hyde if he's. I mean, if your position is still that you object to those on the consent agenda, then they'd have to be taken up one by one.
Yeah, and I will no longer object.
Okay, so I would suggest that the chair, you call for another roll call just to be clear on that first group for the record.
Okay, so the first group for the record is certified resignations, end of limited term contracts, the classified resignations, and the administrative resignation. So we had a motion and a second. So can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
Aye.
Mrs. Quintana? Aye. Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye. So now I need a motion to move to the non-renewals. Next, we have certified non-renewals. Last night, the board held a special meeting to hear from staff who have been notified that they are being recommended for non-renewal. 14 teachers and counselors came last night. The meeting lasted several hours, and the board appreciates that so many teachers and counselors took the time to explain how much they want to continue working here. I am pulling those 14 certified staff from the consent item tonight because they need to be voted on individually. We now have a priority item of business under Section 3, Business 1.0, Other, to address those recommended non-renewals. That leaves 9 teachers and counselors who did not come last night on the consent for the consent item. These are numbered 1.1.1, and the counselors who did not come last night on the consent, these are numbered 1.1.1 through 1.1.9. So there's 9 people. So I need a motion to group the second superintendent's recommended personnel actions for certified non-renewals numbered 1.1.1 through 1.1.9. Those are the 9 people that didn't show up.
And Mr. Chair, to clarify, is the motion to approve that grouping?
Yes, it's a motion to approve that grouping.
So moved. Second.
Okay, can I have a roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
No.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
So, I'm sorry this has taken a lot, but there was a lot of things that happened last night. So,
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
That would close the consent items, and you would move to the priority item on the agenda that was reordered at the beginning of the meeting, and you'll need to take up items 1.1.1 through 1.1.23 one at a time.
Okay, thank you. So we need to close consent items. Now we'll move on to priority items. Superintendent's recommendation for certified non-renewals. The board will take these recommendations individually in numeric order. First, there is 1.1.10 or 1.1.1 if that's not it.
1.1.1.
1.1.1. Sorry. So 1.1.1 is recommended for non-renewal.
Should have roll call.
Can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Well, you need a motion, Mr. Chair.
Motion to.
Second.
Wait, hang on, where are we at? I thought we did 1.1 through 1.9.
There was, Dr. Hyde's nay vote has the effect of being an objection to them being handled on the consent agenda. So that's why they have to be addressed and re-voted as individually under separate items. And these would be subject to discussion.
Okay. So let's have 1.1.1 recommendation for non-renewal. Can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Sorry, Mr. Chair, you still need a motion and then a second.
Okay. Wow.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay.
Discussion.
So am I going to do that all the way through?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is for non-renewals.
Yes.
1.1.1. Can I have roll call, Monica, please?
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
No.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Now I need a motion for 1.1.2.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
No.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.
Now I need a motion for 1.1.3.
Point of interest here. This time I would like to go into executive session to get legal advice and make sure that we're doing this right. I don't want nothing coming back on this.
Can I step into executive session?
Notice? Yeah. You can accept that motion if there's a second and there's a vote of the board. You can do that.
Okay.
Motion to go.
Yes, can I have a motion to move into executive session for legal advice under
It's on your front page.
under 24-6-402, parens 4, parens B, legal advice. Board to conference with an attorney for the purpose of receiving legal advice on specific matters.
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Monica, please.
Mr. Archuleta?
Aye.
Dr. Hyde?
No.
Mrs. Quintana?
Aye.
Mr. Rolla?
Aye.
Mr. Thomas?
Aye.